Welcome back to another episode of Training Tuesday, where I post a video of a full training session and just kind of explain what I'm doing. So in this session, I have Finnick in his bitless bridle. I'm carrying a target stick, and I have stationary targets set up in the four corners of this dressage arena. And I also have a stationary target set up halfway down the long side. So there's 6 targets total. And what I'm doing is trying to use them to walk him the perimeter of the dressage arena and also do some diagonal lines or cut across the short side. And when I set this up, there were not other horses in the area. But I don't have the option to train in the paddock that I normally use, and these guys were turned out there. So I didn't have a whole lot of options, so I tried to just work through it and ignore them. And it just kind of added a little obstacle for us to get moving, but that's why I was carrying my target stick, because it allowed me to be able to redirect Finnick. So you can't really see my stationary targets, just know that they are small yellow plastic cone type things that you've seen in my other videos. And again, they're set up on halfway up the long sides and then in each corner. This video is pretty long, so I sped this next section up. So if it looks a little funny, that's what's going on. And I apologize for the wind in the background. But what I'm doing is I'm asking him to walk on, which is a cue that we have worked on and he has down pretty well. I basically just use the voice cue for that, and then sometimes I'll kind of shake the reins. And then my hope is that he will see the target in front of him and go towards the stationary target. They are spread out pretty far, a lot further than we have done in the past. And they're also set up on top of those little cinder blocks that hold our dressage arena together. And so he kind of had trouble spotting them. That is why I'm carrying the target stick, because I wanted to be able to have something to use to direct him. And so what I'm asking him to do is walk on, and then when I think he can see the target, I'll say target. And if he seems unsure, I will use the rein cue. That is what I'm kind of using this activity to work on. And if he doesn't respond to a really light rein cue to steer right or left, I will use the target stick that I'm carrying to further direct him towards where I want him to go, and kind of use that to lead him to where the stationary targets are. Once he got the hang of it, he kind of figured out where they were and did it pretty well. I would mark and reinforce when he would get to the target, or if we had to make a turn like a corner, and he was able to do that off of my rein cue. So he's getting reinforced for both going towards the stationary targets as well as listening to a light rein cue, either right or left. So this time I changed it up a little bit and we cut across the center, and I had him do a halt and a crunch in the middle, which he did very well. And here he keeps knocking the targets off the cinder blocks and I keep putting them back on. So that's a new fun game that he just made up. So, and here we're switching directions. If you're doing this kind of work, it's really important to make sure that you work both directions equally, as well as if you're doing stuff from the ground and you're not ground driving from behind them, that you make sure that you work with you standing on either side of the horse. So here I tried to stand both on the inside of the dressage arena and then also on the outside, being between him and the railing, just to change it up and get him used to all the things. You can't really hear my clicks here, which is unfortunate because it was very windy, so I had to turn the volume down. But just know that he's getting marked and reinforced for going to each corner, and then once he passes or touches the target, that's about halfway up the long side. So this is a roughly 20 by 40 meter. So basically every 20 meters, he's getting marked and reinforced when he gets to his destination. So we got a little squirrely down that long side. Again, it was a pretty windy day and there was a lot of action going on behind the camera on the farm next door that he was pretty distracted by, as well as the other horses. So here you can see I'm kind of trying to walk on the outside. He actually did surprisingly well, considering I kind of had him bite off maybe a little more than he was ready to chew at that point, which again, that's why I was carrying the target stick. I think when you increase the distance and the visibility of your stationary targets, just having something that he knows, and he knows the target stick really well and really willingly follows it. So just having that as a way to offer him a few more clues as to where I want him to go is really helpful. If I did not have that, this would have been kind of a disaster and he would have been really confused as to where to go. He also knows his steering right and left rein cues, but I wanted this to be a session where I just continue to reinforce those and not have to rely on them because they're not 100% yet. So here I did a few diagonal zigzags across the dressage arena. With a young horse, you want to make sure that you don't always do the same pattern all the time, because if the first 10 times they go into a dressage arena, all they do is walk a lap one way and walk a lap the other way. If you ever try to come off the rail to do something or do something different, it could totally blow their mind. So just make sure you are continuing to add variety, as long as it doesn't mess up the consistency of their training. So here I asked him for a nice whoa, and we're back to normal speed, and he did a really nice whoa, so I'm asking him to back up. Again, a skill that he has down pretty well. And there we get another walk on. And he's done really well. So I've gotten a few hints from him that he's kind of tired of this boring walk around the arena work. So I wanted him to go get that last target in the corner that you can't quite see from here, and then planned to call it a day. When I end my sessions, especially in this area when it's safe to do so, what I like to do is go ahead and just take off any tack that he's wearing and let him kind of do whatever he wants. And that way I know if he still wants to engage and play. And if that happened, then what I usually do is do some more high energy work, because he really prefers that to some of this more boring steering stuff. But then I know if he wants to stay and play, or if he wants to run off and try to graze or hang out with one of his buddies that's out in this field. So here I am taking off his bridle, and at the end of this session he hung around for just a little bit, and then by the time I grabbed my phone off the fence, he galloped off to find his friends, which is totally fine. But I love when they don't run off right away. It lets me know that he's still interested in me and doesn't hate me for that boring couple laps around the dressage arena. So hope this was helpful. Sorry the sound is kind of wonky, but this has been Training Tuesday.